who's a member of the BNP. Hello, Simon.
Hello there, Roger. I didn't hear the first. I heard the second part. Which
Well, the first call was basically to say that it wasn't the Wavertree Cricket Club that took the booking. It was something called the Cricketers, which is a separate organisation, in effect, which rents out to Wavertree Cricket Club. So the the Cricket Club had nothing to do with it at all. It was the Cricketers who had accepted your booking.
Right. Well, I was actually there. I was actually chairing part of the meeting myself, but I do find it rather sinister, really. I thought we lived in a free country. We weren't part of the old Soviet bloc, and one of Liverpool's MEPs could have a meeting without the Labour Party Stasi trying to blockade it and trying to lose the licence to his business. I mean, that's the real issue here, isn't it?
Well, most annual general meetings aren't held in a suburb of a city. They're normally held in a conference centre or something.
Roger, I'll tell you why that is. If we had booked in a hotel in Liverpool, the far left, the Labour Party, would ring round every single hotel in Liverpool and put pressure on that person to cancel the booking. We had something very similar in Sussex 2 weeks ago, where we ostensibly hired a memorial hall, a charity, so that Nick could speak there. The head of the Hastings Council actually wrote to the pensioner who was in charge of the memorial hall and said that if you go ahead with this booking, you will lose your charitable tax rebate. In other words, blackmailing them. And that's exactly what we saw on Saturday, where apparently the head of the Liverpool City Council and the Labour Party strolls into the venue and says to the landlord there, if you do not throw these people out and cancel this booking straight away, I will go to the licensing committee on Monday and make sure that you lose your licence. Now, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware, the Labour Party don't own Liverpool. The city of Liverpool is owned by the people of Liverpool. And if the people of Liverpool elect as one of their MEPs, Nick Griffin, then that's the end of it.
Well, when there are, and we've had a few here, AGMs or annual meetings of parties, they're only too pleased and proud to announce that they are having their annual general meeting here. You don't seem to be too pleased or proud of yourselves. You're not prepared to announce it.
The reality is, Roger, and we are very proud of ourselves considering what we have to put up with.
There's only 70 of you at the meeting, actually, weren't there, sir?
Well, that's all it could take. There was about 100 people there, actually, and that's all it could take.
We should have booked a bigger place.
Well, if we do book, as I say, if you look at what happened to us when we tried to launch our Scottish Manifesto in Falkirk, the local Labour MEP there actually tweeted that people should contact the hotel and intimidate them into a position whereby they cancel the booking. Now, imagine if it was BBC Radio Merseyside, who I gather have got quite a bit of competition with media across the city. There's other radio stations. If you booked a big conference and you're launching a series of new programmes or something, and your opposition, Radio City, decided to intimidate the people holding the conference, you'd be absolutely up in arms about it, wouldn't you? You wouldn't like it.
Yes, we wouldn't, but I don't think this is a really straight analogy. We're not a political party.
Well, no, but we're talking about...
The reality is, Sam, you're a political party that people generally don't like. That's the problem, isn't it?
The thing is, the reality is, we're so popular that Nick Griffin is one of Liverpool's MEPs.
Oh, come on, you're tearing yourselves apart at the moment. You're absolutely broke. It's a mess. The party's in a mess.
Roger, the country's broke.
You're even more broke than Labour.
With a £7 billion debt. Unlike
You've got unpaid bills galore. People are chasing you for money left, right and centre. You're not in a very happy position, are you?
Roger, unlike the BBC, we don't have the facility of telling the British public that if you don't pay your licence fee, your British National Party membership fee, you go to prison. That's how the BBC raises its money.
It is.
It is, right.
Yes.
We don't. We live in the real world. We rely on donations from ordinary people.
But you should be paying your bills, shouldn't you? And you're not
paying our bills.
No, my understanding is you're not.
You're listening to a rather poisoned appraisal of the position. Yes, we have bills. Yes, we have debts. Everybody has debts. You try running any business nowadays.
But there's also been a big challenge to Mr. Griffin as well, which he won. Which he did win, I accept that, but when there's so few people in the party... And the party has lost how many councillors? You've got about 6 left in the country, something like that, I can't remember. But you lost a whole range of councillors in May.
Well, all smaller parties are being squeezed, I'm afraid. That's just the political reality of a...
Oh, it's not to do with the size of the party, is it, really? Isn't it to do with the politics?
You sound very negative, Roger. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know what kind of sites you've been reading, but the reality is we've held a conference in Liverpool, a very successful conference. You'd have to be there to see it. The BBC were there. They covered it. It was on the news last night, as were...
Well, there was a clip. We didn't hear any of the conference. We just saw what I saw, anyhow. It was just
anybody wanting to see what happened at the conference and what motions were discussed, because let's be honest, if we had parity, you'd be discussing what motions we put forward, what measures we were taking to alleviate...
If it's such a good party, why did you lose so many seats at the election? It really isn't to do with the squeeze on people. You know, Lib Dems did badly as well, the others did badly, but you really were slaughtered.
Certainly we didn't do very well in Barking and Dagenham, but when you consider what Labour did in Barking and Dagenham, basically to import thousands of Africans...
Sorry, Labour Party imported thousands of Africans and descended them on Barking and Dagenham, did they?
Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
And if you think how did they get that? How did they fly them in with a Concorde or what? How did they get them in?
I don't know how they got here, but if you think I'm lying or anybody thinks I'm lying...
I think you're exaggerating at the very least.
No, Roger, it's a question of you not wanting to believe...
So suddenly the Barking and Dagenham constituency got a massive increase in the number of Africans specifically.
Exactly.
Which parts of Africa did they come from?
Was it from Africa?
So South Africa, from Yemen, from where?
Yeah, not necessarily South Africa.
And these are all Labour Party voting Cameron's. So they were only allowed into this country by the Labour Party, presumably while the Labour Party was in power, because they said they would vote against the BNP. Is that why they were allowed in?
Labour have been doing that for years. They've been importing Labour votes for years. But listen, Roger, you're trying to make a very condescending...
Because you're saying something's absolute nonsense.
And you're saying it's nonsense. I'm going to put my reputation on the line,
okay,
right?
Simon.
Right. You are either going to be the liar or I'm going to be the liar. You investigate the Barking and Dagenham electoral register and just see the number of African names that are on that register. Then
I'm not saying there aren't a number of African names on the Barking and Dagenham register. I'm saying that the Labour Party did not fly in thousands of Africans into Barking and Dagenham in order to vote against the BNP, which is what you implied, what you said.
That's exactly what happened. Now, the mode of transport I do not know, but Labour have been doing this for years. They've been using the immigrant vote to keep themselves in power. And I can give you examples where Labour Party officials have gone round newly arrived immigrants from Africa and said to them, this is a postal vote form, you fill it in, this is the party you vote for, otherwise you're returning back to whence you came. Now,
have you got actual evidence of that?
Yes.
And you've taken it to the electoral returning officer, have you?
Well,
no.
There's a huge postal voting fraud that takes place in
There was one in Birmingham. I remember a huge one in Birmingham, yes.
Well, it got to the stage where there's almost gun battles over postal voting.
Yeah, but if you know of these instances where people are being blackmailed, as you suggest, about being told they will have to go back to their country of origin if they don't give up their postal vote, that really should have been reported to the police and to the electoral registration officer. But you say you haven't done that.
Well, you told me, let's get this into... You're changing the subject now. You've told me I was talking nonsense about the Labour Party importing African voters into Barking and Dagenham, right?
Why African voters, by the way? Why didn't they import American voters?
Because Americans wouldn't want to live in Barking and Dagenham.
Oh, but Africans would like to live in Barking and Dagenham.
Yeah, much better increase in the standard of life.
Right, okay.
Americans, probably like the indigenous population of London, most of them have fled. That's the reality of it. You won't talk about it because that's white flight.
Don't you love London because it is such a multicultural place? Because wherever you go, you hear different languages, you see different people, different colours. Don't you enjoy that?
What you'd like to see for Liverpool? Would you like?
Well, we have it a bit in Liverpool, not enough in my view.
Would you like more? Did you despise white English culture, British culture so much that you'd like it diluted?
So did you say despise then?
Well, that's what you're actually saying that you dislike. If you want to change... No,
I didn't say that. I did not say that at all. I said I like the multicultural aspect of English culture.
Let me ask you again then. Let me ask you to ascertain, see if you can ascertain exactly what you're saying. Is there something wrong with British culture that you think it has to be diluted?
Sorry, what does diluted mean? I don't understand about diluted. What's diluted?
Well, when you dilute a solution, you dilute it down, you make it less concentrated.
Concentrated in what? I don't understand. I really don't understand.
You do understand.
No, I
and
don't.
You made a mistake by saying that, and you don't like being nailed for it.
No, I'll tell you what I understand.
Two
Is
things
that
you said. Two things you said.
this city...
Excuse me of talking nonsense about the Barking and Dagenham electoral register. Now, my challenge to you is you, with the BBC's resources, get hold of that Barking and Dagenham register, look at it, and then you apologise to your...
No, I'm not apologising to you.
making a false statement.
There may well be African-sounding names on it.
If you feel that you want Liverpool to end up like parts of London, you justify that.
What do you mean by ending up by parts of London? What
held up London as a wonderful example of multiculturalism.
Yes.
Right. Do you want to see Liverpool?
Well, we are. We are a multicultural...
Do you want
I don't know if you were at it, but there was a wonderful lantern festival last night in Sefton Park. There must have been about 10,000 people there. They were all creeds, all colours, all races. It was absolutely wonderful. And that's Britain for you. That's what British is. That is England.
No. Parts of London that are not like England at all, Roger. Now, would you like to see... Well, let's make it easy for you. Let's make it very easy for you. Have you any problem at all about suburbs of London, suburbs of Liverpool, should I say, turning into parts of the East End, or parts of Birmingham to Sparbrook or Allen Rock, or parts of Bradford?
Couldn't possibly happen. We're a different city. We've got different culture here.
Couldn't happen.
It couldn't happen. No, we've got a different culture here.
Why
I think it's because we're a port, basically, and we've always had different races and different creeds and colours coming into this city and living in this city, passing through this city.
There are plenty of people in Liverpool and in England that happen to like this country the way it is.
Exactly, I love it the way it is. It's great.
Right. So you don't want Liverpool changed?
Well, every city, every country changes all the time. I love the changes that happen in this country. When I was born, you could only get, shops closed at 5 o'clock. You couldn't get anything after 5 o'clock. That's changed. Part of the change of that culture has come from the Asians who were chucked out of Uganda, who came into this country and worked very hard in corner shops and began to open till 10 o'clock at night. Later, they worked incredibly hard and they encouraged the rest of us, you call it dilution, I call it enrichment, they encouraged the rest of us to do that kind of thing, to work that hard, to have shops that are open late.
British people are instinctively idle.
No, I didn't say that either. I said they encouraged us to do it. It was a challenge to us.
You're making a lot of mistakes, Roy. I'd advise you to keep your job as a broadcaster and not go into politics.
I'm not intending to go into politics, Simon. No, and if I were, it would not be the BNP, I'm sure of that.
No, I don't think you'd go very far with us.
Well, no, along with the other 70 at your annual meeting.